The training part of our call today. We got Jimmy Hernandez on, who's going to be conducting today's training. Jimmy, let me go ahead and turn the call over to you, sir.
All right, thank you, Joe. Well, good morning, Senior Solutions. As we approach the end of the year, I really want to leave you with something that you can think about and start putting your business together and move forward and launch in a whole new way for 2021. So as you can see, we have the well right there, and this is for a quote from Confucius, and he says, "Dig your well before you're thirsty." And I interpret that two ways. One, for our industry anyway, you don't want to run out of leads, right? So don't wait until you exhaust your leads before you reorder. You have to have I guess you can say, a reoccurring order in place. You don't want to run out of leads. In fact, if you're on a direct mail order, you want to make sure that there's always leads owed to you. And historically, the top performers that have really just killed it, I'm talking about multi six-figure income earners for YIG and Senior Solutions, are folks that they want to have 100 leads owed to them at all times. In other words, they have 100 coming, at least 100. That when you have that many leads that are owed to you, your well is not going to run dry. Now, having said that, another source of leads, I've always been a big believer in, getting leads from various sources, right? So another source of leads, and we promoted this many times recently, but it's the aged lead store. What I love about these leads is that they're internet leads, and they when you purchase them, they are instantly emailed to you. So I mean, you have them within a moment, right? You can go start working them that day. That's if they're in inventory. Here in San Antonio, guess what? There's no more aged leads available in San Antonio because everybody done bottom up. So another area that you want to work on are referral leads. And that's the one that I really, really am going to emphasize today. And how do you build your book of business? How do you build on your referrals? And it's not something by luck. You have to really, put some effort into it, and you have to put some I guess you can say, systems in place. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But I do want to give one quick success story. We talked about this new agent a couple of weeks ago. His name is Jack Priolo. I've been working with him, mentoring him one-on-one. He lives here in San Antonio. I recruited him, so I've been able to work with him. And from those age leads, I mean, we talked about how he had made some sales initially, right? Well, he hadn't run out yet. He's still working them, and he's still making sales. And a couple of days ago, he hit a pretty good home run, Joe. He had a gentleman that was in his 70s, and he already had $90,000 of life insurance, but he was looking to get an additional 60 because he wanted to have 150 total. And in his own words, he says he believes in life insurance and he likes to buy it. He's got a couple of policies on his wife. He's got policies on his grandchildren and on his children. And so he was looking for another policy, right? Jack went out, knocked on his door off that age lead list. We were looking at Simplified Issue because he had diabetes prior to the age of 40, or rather prior to the age of 50. Mutual was not going to be a solution for him. So we went with CVS and Royal Neighbors initially, but the cost was going to be over $500 a month for 60,000. So as a product, I guess you can say secret right here, we went with Fidelity and Guaranteed Life. They have a solution called the Path Setter. and the minimum face amount is 50,000. Jack wrote him up for 60,000. His premium was 274 and change per month. So really, really nice, application. That's an AP over $3,000. And as Jack puts it, on a lead that cost him $1.50. So, I mean, way to go, Jack. I think that he's definitely got a big return on his investment. It's not all, candy and sugar for Jack, because he's had a lot of no's out there, Joe. He's had leads that, he had one yesterday. This lead's supposed to be less than 90 days old, right? But he knocked on the door and the lady said, "Oh, he died a couple of years ago." So too many agents get emotionally attached to each individual lead. "Oh, this is no good," or "Oh, these leads suck," or "Oh, they start complaining about all the negative. But you got to focus on the positive. You got to remember, your job is to sift through those leads and find the winners. So do you think he got emotionally attached because one lead was, a couple of years old, not 90 days old? When he just made a couple of grand on another deal, So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. So let me go ahead and just move on. I don't know if you want to comment before I go ahead and really dive into the training.
I have so much I want to say.
Go ahead, Joe.
I just said, you know what? I mean, kudos to Jack. I love him, man. That's awesome. Here's the thing though, Jimmy. Here's the secret and the takeaway that I don't know if a lot of agents are picking up. These aged leads, these internet leads, the secret sauce is going out and door knocking them. Because I promise you this, is that of the hundreds or the thousands of agents all across the country that are purchasing leads, these internet leads from the Age Lead Store, nobody's door knocking them. Nobody's door knocking them. Okay? They're sitting in their house making phone calls. That's the difference, dude. Going out and taking these leads, trying to get them in counties or zip codes that are somewhat close to you, and actually going out and door knocking the leads. If Jack wouldn't have made even a percent of the sales that he's made so far off of these leads had he just stayed in his office and called. You got to be able to get out of your comfort zone and actually go out and door knock these leads. Even though it's not an internet lead, it's not a paper lead. We've got the scripts. We've been doing training on how to do this. I'm just telling you, that's the difference. Same thing with these mortgage protection leads. We've got these aged leads. We've got agents that are killing it, doing very, very good on these older mortgage protection leads, but they're door knocking them. Because here's what I can tell you, industry wide, if you look at all the big IMOs that do mortgage protection, nobody's door knocking. It's all about making phone calls and setting up preset appointments, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what happens is it leaves a lot of meat on the bone, okay? And inherently, most agents have horrible follow-up. So even when you have that lead that a previous agent had, maybe they made a presentation, but they didn't sell it, and the client says, "Yeah, well, let me think about it. Can you get back with me in a month or so? I think my situation is going to change." 99% of the agents that had that lead prior are never going to follow up. Here you are, you purchased the lead at 6 months old, you door knock, you have the same lead that, the lead that they had, and you're able to make the deal. But that never would have happened. I'm just telling you, if you don't go out and door knock. And the thing about Jack, if you're listening, brother, here, and everybody else, man, here's the difference between winners and losers. Losers like to give lip service. Winners do the work. They actually go out and they do what they're supposed to do, and they don't sit back in their comfort zone and just make calls. So if you want to be a winner, the key is go out and do the work. And with that, Jimmy, I'll go ahead and flip it to your key you up here. We can talk about the beneficiary certificate form.
Okay. Well, I'm not ready to talk about that yet, Joe.
Oh,
So
okay. Are we still on the well?
yeah, let's stay on the well. I'll get back to that in a second. So
Okay, sorry about
all
that.
right. All right. So I want to talk about, about the referrals right now. The hardest sell to make is that initial sell that you make to that household. And the reason why it's the hardest is because you had to work those leads. You had to knock on their door or give them a call. You had to schedule the appointment. You had to it takes a lot of work to get there. But think about this. Once you make that sell, you won them over. They bought from you, right? So you've already done the hard work. Now you're in the household. You need to use that and leverage your relationship and that, I guess you can say, that a rapport and credibility that you establish with that person, and then you'll get additional business. And that's really what I want to focus on for half of the call, and the other part is we're going to talk about how to keep the business on the books. But it all comes together with relationship with your client. And so I want to talk about turning the non-tangible to a tangible item. You know, Probably one of the reasons why life insurance is a difficult sell is because it's not something that they can hold on to. When someone buys a car, they drive away in it, right? It's tangible. They can hold it. If you go shopping for clothes, you can wear those clothes, right? You can put those shoes on. But when you have a life insurance policy, it's not really tangible, right? So you have to try to transfer that non-tangible into something that they can value and hold on to. And the first step, believe it or not, guys, is using the pre-sale folder. When you walk into a home and you do a presentation, that pre-sale folder is something tangible that you're giving them, right? And in there is information and content and value. So start with that. The next thing is you made the sell. You need to go home and write a thank you card and send it to them immediately. I've been practicing this for years. The minute I make a sell, before I lay my head down at night, I write all my thank you cards and I put them in the mailbox for the next day. That's just like routine and ritual for me, right? I don't allow myself to go to sleep without doing that. When they get that, that just kind of cements the deal. That also is going to make it harder for them to change their mind or back out. And it also builds value and credibility because they know that you're real. You send them a thank you card. The other thing that you want to make tangible are greeting cards. In a while, I'll show you how I sort and keep track of all my clients, but you want to send them a birthday card and you want to send them cards for the holidays. I like to also send them a Thanksgiving card because nobody sends out Thanksgiving cards, right? I always get people reaching out to me, thanking me for their Thanksgiving card. But you wanna like save your space on their mantle, right, with your greeting card. So you're wanting to stay in contact with them. The other thing is these are called anchors, right? They're little gifts that you give people for doing something that you wanted them to do. For example, if they give you a referral, give them a gift, right? Um, you want to give them something that's going to last, that they can remember you by. And I'm just going to give you an example. Maybe they referred you to their kids and they got a policy on their grandkids, right? So their children's children got a policy, right? So why not give them a really nice either gold or silver dollar and put it in a really nice little case and give that to them, because that creates some sort of value, and they're going to put that somewhere. They're always going to remember who gave it to them, right? um, Another example is, instead of giving somebody a bottle of wine as an example, you would give them a wine decanter, right? Because the bottle of wine, they're going to drink it and it's going to be gone, but that decanter, they're going to hold on to it. It creates better value. So I just kind of wanted to give you two images that you can create value that's lasting. Um, I'm gonna say, on a much simpler note, I've given away coffee mugs that have senior solutions and my name on there and my phone number on there. You know, and some people, they make me laugh. They say they drink it every morning. That's their favorite cup, right? So little things like that, so that you can give them. Um, Another thing that you can do is you can give them a beneficiary certificate. So Joe, if you want to pull that up now,
Yeah.
I talk
What?
about this. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I was just going to say, what the coffee cups work, dude, and they're super cheap. If you buy them in bulk, you can get coffee cups made for, a little bit over $1 a piece. Nobody throws coffee cups away. So you get a nice coffee cup made up with your, a logo or your name on it. You can even, if you wanted to put your picture on, I guess you could. But I know, just me personally, I've got coffee cups from 20 years ago that people had given me. So those are really something. Uh, those are nice. Coffee cups are great trinkets to give out. All right, so here is, you should be able to see the beneficiary certificate form, Jimmy. So talk to us about this.
Yeah, so when I'm in the home and at the point of sale, I tell them that I'm going to create a beneficiary certificate with their policy information and phone number to call to file a claim and all that stuff, and that I want to give that to their beneficiary. Now, this is typically really helpful when the beneficiary is the children and not the spouse, right? Because the spouse, they're already together, they have the policy, right? So when it's somebody other than their spouse, this is really when I utilize this form. um, and they really light up on it, right? And so I tell them, when you get your policy in the mail, I want you to call me at that time. I'm going to come back out and I'm going to deliver the certificate. And so when they call me, I tell them to call their beneficiary, whoever it is, and I tell them to schedule the appointment. I want them there because I need to explain things to them. Okay, great. So I go back out, I review their policy, I give them the beneficiary certificate, I compliment them. Don't you think it's a great thing that your parent, or your grandparent, whoever the relationship is, took this out to make sure that when that time comes, that you're not going to be burdened with that financial expense. And this is what you need to do. And I give them instructions that this is who you're going to call. If you need any help, you call me. I give them my card. Usually without me even bringing it up or asking for referrals. At that point in time is when I get them. They usually say, hey, well, can you run a quote on me? Or I'd like to get a quote on my husband, or I want to get a quote for my children. If they don't bring it up, then I do ask, is there anybody in your family or maybe a close friend that that needs life insurance, and I can give them a quote? And I just pause and I wait, right? So, like, use the beneficiary certificate. This is a way of transferring that tangible item to their beneficiary. You know what, Joe, it does too? Is it really makes it hard for that policy owner to cancel that policy or let it lapse, because they just involved their beneficiary and I've given them a certificate. It's kind of
Yeah, I
like
was just thinking about that.
refunding, their gift. They can't do that, right? And they don't.
Right, right.
So that's a twofer right there, right? Uh, I don't have an example of this because I just read a book recently and I got this idea from that book. But here's another tangible thing you can deliver when you're doing that policy review, the initial policy review for delivery of the policy, I should say, is that you can create a form that gives a menu of services that you offer, right? And there's so many other types of life insurance or insurances that we offer. It could be supplemental policies such as cancer, heart attack, stroke, dental, Medicare supplements. It could be long-term care. It could be children's whole life. It could be term with return of premium, an accidental life policy. It could be annuities or retirement planning, index universal life. I mean, like you can make a really nice list of all your services and give that to them. Think about how many people may have referred somebody to you, but they didn't know that you offered that, you know? So just an idea. That's something I'm going to work on and put something together for myself. So Joe,
Yeah,
if
I
we
want
can,
that too, Jimmy. That's really good. So let me ask you just, let me bounce this idea because you're telling me this. I'm like, these things that we're talking about are like, just like, like so invaluable and just like, I mean, it just, it's the little things that makes the big difference. Like this beneficiary certificate form, it's freaking ingenious, man. I mean, who does that? I mean, as far as I know, we're the only company that does that. Now, this menu of services, Jimmy, when like, would you put that into the pre-sale folder, or you bring it when you're doing the certificate, beneficiary certificate? When were
I've
you
thought
thinking about
about that.
introducing that?
I've thought about that. I think I would bring it when I'm delivering the policy or doing that initial policy review, because at that point, I've already sold them. They've already bought from me. They already bought Jimmy Hernandez. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that's when I think I'm gonna do it rather than
The
in the
other thing too, Jimmy, think about this is that when you when you send out your cards, your birthday card, Christmas card, reminders, all that, if you had like an additional little, like a little card, like a postcard kind of with the, you could also include the list of like the menu in that as well. So not only are they getting it once, but maybe they're getting it, 3 or 4 times throughout the year as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Maybe it just be on the actual birthday card. So like let's
Yeah.
talk about that. Let's talk about birthday cards for a second.
Okay.
You can go to Vistaprint, right? And you can order your birthday cards. You can design it, you can put your logo, you can put all those things that we just talked about, your menu of services, maybe put it on the back of the card, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then you know, buy a bulk of them, buy 100 at a time or 50 at a time, just depending how big your book of business is, and then you have the same card and you can go send it out. Myself, I use a birthday card service company, so like you know, they send it out for me automatically, but it has my logo and it has my signature already on it. It's pretty cool. So um, the cool thing about the birthday card company I use too is that I'm for special clients, I'm able to go in and even add a gift. So sometimes I do that. But anyway, so let me show you how I keep track of it. So Joe, if you want to move to the next slide.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So we're gonna, well, no, let's stay on that one. Back up. I'm sorry. Let's stay on that one.
You want to do the submitted business checklist?
Yeah, so this is what I do every time I write a business, right? You got to scrub your application, send it in. There's my thank you card, right? That's the very next thing that I do. I upload it. I use Google Drive to store all of my files. I update Opt. Um, if you don't know what Opt is, you need to ask Joe, and he'll definitely educate you on Opt, huh, Joe?
Absolutely.
Um, I remove them from my road warrior list. I call the client to advise them of the decision. I check that off. Remind the client of the initial draft date. I ask if they received the policy. You know, so like I tell them to call me. I remind them again when they're approved to call me when they get their policy, and then I put it on my calendar. I usually go 2 weeks out from the date of sale, put it on my calendar, and then if they haven't called me, I call them. to ask them if they got it. I schedule that policy review and deliver the beneficiary certificates as for referrals. I enter information on the client database, which I'm going to show you next. Call the beneficiary to schedule the delivery of the certificate. All that's done when I deliver the policy, and then I create the certificate. So by the way, that beneficiary certificate, I print it on what we call magazine paper. That's what they call it at Office Max, Office Depot, magazine paper. So it's kind of real thick, slick. It's really nice. Anyway, so Joe, let's go to the next screen. This is my client database. I use Google Sheets, right? It's free. And the best part about it is that you can access it from any device that has internet, right? So it could be, I can access this from my phone, from my tablet, from my computer. I can be at somebody else's computer. I could be in a hotel and use their computer when I sign into Gmail. And then from Gmail, you get those little dots on the top right corner. You click on that, go to Google Sheets, and booyah, it's right there. I mean, it's easy access from anywhere. But I like to sort them by first name, right? So you can see they're all in alphabetical order there. Those are actually real first names, and all I did was change the last name. And then I think I deleted their not their policy number,
The phone number.
Yeah, I deleted their phone number and their actual address for this screenshot. But I put their first name, last name, what carrier, what's the policy number, date of birth, phone number, address, what type of policy it is. Most of them are whole life, right? Some of them are UL, some of them are term, the face amount, and also what their monthly premium is. What's cool about Google Sheets is that you can highlight your cells and then you can hit data on top and hit sort, and you can sort by any column. So I can sort this by date of birth as an example. And so at the beginning of the month, I'll sort it by date of birth, and then I can see whose birthday it is going to be this month, right? And then from there, I can make sure I put on my calendar to give them a call, wish them a happy birthday, and also make sure that I'm sending out the thank you card. So before I use the birthday card company, I would, have my own birthday cards that I bought in bulk, and I'd send them out myself, right? Now, that part I don't do anymore. It's on autopilot, but this is how you can do it till you build that book of business up. The other thing that I'm not showing, probably because my I wasn't able to get it all on one screen, but that there's another piece that's missing here, Joe, is the issue date is what I have on mine. So
Okay.
I also sort by issue date every month at the beginning of the month, and I can see everybody, like January's coming up, right? So I can see all the policies that were issued in January, and I give all those people a call to do my annual review. Some people say, no, I'm good, I don't need anything. But a lot of people say, yeah, come on by, we'll set up the appointment. I go out, I review their policy. At that time is another great time to give them a menu of services that we just talked about, and then we can bring up. So think about this. They already have their life insurance with you. Not only do you review their policy, but you kind of like just, hey, let me make sure that you're good in all these other areas. And you can talk about cancer policies, heart attack, stroke policies, dental, Medicare supplements. I mean, maybe you don't sell Medicare. Myself, I don't, right? So I refer those out to agents that are in my downline that do work in that. But dental, those are easy. I've written those up, Joe. Oh my God, those are too easy to write.
The Mutual of Omaha Dental.
Mutual of Omaha Dental.
Yeah, they're
those
easy.
are really easy to write, and they pay. So it could be long-term care. Obviously, that's going to be for those people that have a little bit more assets to protect or higher income. But the cool thing about our industry is that we're not always just getting the lower income. We get a lot of the middle to high income people as well, right? So long-term care. Children's whole life, I talk about that. You know, do you have any kids or grandchildren that you want to insure? And I show them the blue. I always print it in blue paper, the blue sheet with the Mutual of Omaha quotes for children's whole life that Joe has available on the Senior Solution website. I give that to them. Sometimes I write children's whole life. One time I wrote 9 kids in one house. I had to use 2 applications, right? Because you can only put 8 on one app. They add up. Accidental death policies. This is especially great for somebody that has a profession that is, you know, let's say a little higher risk. There's a lot of truck drivers out there. There's people that are in, you know, law enforcement or security. I had a guy one time, Joe, that he worked for a oil refinery company in Corpus Christi, and his job was to climb those ladders to go all the way to the top to fix whatever is up there, right? I mean, I don't know how many feet, but this guy climbs up and down those things every day. Can you imagine that? That's high risk, right?
Yeah.
Got him
Yeah.
a big, beautiful $500,000 accidental policy. You can talk about retirement, right? This is a great time to talk about it because oftentimes, I'll be honest with you, I myself don't talk about it in the beginning on a final expense. Sometimes I forget, right? Sometimes you get caught up, you're pressed for time or whatever. But when you come back out and deliver that policy, you can slow down, you can talk about this. Do you have any, you know, retirement plans that you need help with? Maybe it's an old 401k or an IRA. We can help you with that. Maybe they have a younger person in the house or family member that's interested in building some tax-free retirement via IULs or Index Universal Life. I mean, these are a ton of things that you can talk about on the policy review. And especially if you do it year after year, you start getting sales. You know, Jack was here a couple of days ago and I gave him a really good example, and I want to explain this or give this example to everybody on the phone. Several years ago, one of my clients, I went out on a door knock. They were in the front yard. One of those houses, Joe, where they have a fence in the front yard, right?
Yeah.
They happened to be outside working in the garden, and so it was easy, right? So I door knocked them, showed them the lead. They were very, very welcoming, very hospitable. We sat in the front yard. She brought some chairs out. I met with her and her husband. They brought me some homemade lemonade, and I wrote 2 small policies that first year: a $5,000 face amount on him and his wife. They were both in their 70s. The second year, when I went out and did a policy review, she told me that she wanted some additional coverage. So we got another 15,000 on her husband, right? And then the third year, I went out, or I guess you can say the second anniversary I went out, she told me that she wanted to get 35,000 additional coverage on her, which was $264 a month. That was
Wow.
my highest monthly premium for a final expense policy, right? So I wrote that and covered her Down syndrome adult daughter with an accidental policy. Actually, I did that on the first year anniversary. Then Protection Plus came around, so the following year I wrote her daughter up with Protection Plus because now it's not just accidental, right? Then on the fourth year, she told me her son needs insurance, so I wrote him up on an IUL. I mean, so like those are all additional policies just from doing policy reviews. And that's not the only customer that happens with, right? So, but here's the thing, if you do the work, right, it'll come, right? So, I mean, you just have to go out there and do it. So, I don't know, before we move on to the next segment, Joe, do you have anything to add or comment about?
Well, no, it just, guys, it is about doing the work and it seems tedious, but I'm just telling you, man, it pays off. I mean, um, once you've been doing this a while and you have that book of business, you're just talking about that, Jimmy. I mean, if you're making, even if you're just writing, let's say 20 policies a month, That's 240 policies a year. Let's just say 3 years. I mean, you got in 5 years, you'd have over 1,000 clients that you can go out and service and do annual reviews. And trust me, reviews, you can do a review anytime. It could be if you're new in this business, I'm just telling you, if this is your first day, start doing 6-month reviews. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what I used to do because I didn't have a book of business. I did 6-month reviews, then annual reviews. But you just keep build. I mean, it's so smart to cultivate our book of business, but in reality, so few agents actually do it. So there's a lot of annual premium. There's a lot of commissions that are just sitting there that you're not taking advantage of. That's it, Jimmy.
All right. Well, let's move on to retention and policy conservation.
Okay.
Just building the rapport that I talked about and doing these annual reviews and sending them birthday cards, that right there helps with retention. Let me tell you this. When another agent comes knocking on their door or gives them a call, who do you think they call first? They call me. I get these calls all the time. Hey, Jimmy, I got this guy coming. He was telling me about this and this and this. What do you think? Right? That either opens the door for me to get back out there, right, and save the existing cell or add another one. I'm like, I always get those calls from people.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm always in contact with them and they're in contact with me, right? I didn't forget about them the day I wrote them up and never saw them again. Are you going to move to the next slide, Joe?
Yeah, I had it. I'm sorry, I had it on pause.
Oh, okay, okay. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, and this is a killer, right? Is that Chargeback Monster. How many people on this call, if you could raise your hand, right? Did you have the option to raise your hand? Raise your hand if you've ever gotten a chargeback, right? I mean, there's a lot of people, unless you're brand new, it happens to everybody, right? Well, here's the thing. Before you get that chargeback, you get notified from the carrier that this is a possible, chargeback. And too many agents that I've worked with over the years don't do anything. They get the notification, they say, oh, that person was a flake, and they let it charge back, and then they get disgruntled and, they get negative. Hey guys, that's an opportunity to save your cell, and you're not going to save all of them, but you will save some. And I'm going to give you 2 examples of me saving a cell that just happened here recently. Actually, this week was one, and last week was the other one. But when you get that email notification, you need to be, proactive and call that customer immediately. Give them a call, right? Many times it's an oversight or a mistake or whatever. But I'm going to give you one example. 4 years ago, I was in Fort Worth and I was working leads, and I wrote a lady up, right? And it was with one carrier, Liberty Bankers Life. And you know what, Joe? Like, she has I guess you can say a delinquent kind of a history, right? I've called her several times throughout the last 4 years, reminding her to get that payment in, right? Because I get those notices, and she's kept that policy in force for 4 years. Well, I've talked to her, like, I'm gonna say probably 4 or 5 times in the last couple of months, trying to get her to get it going. And she said, you know what, Jimmy, I just couldn't make it up this time. I was going to have to pay over $200 to keep that policy active. It's the holidays. So she let it lapse, right? She says, but I still want the insurance. Can you rewrite me? Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm down here in San Antonio. Fort Worth is a good 5-hour drive. I'm not going to drive all the way up there for one policy, right? So I went with CVS, which is to me the easiest carrier to use over the phone. I quoted her. Actually, I think it was a better quote than what she had with Liberty, and I rewrote her. So I mean, that was a beautiful thing. So I mean, I had been saving this policy for 4 years. Finally, she let it lapse, and then I rewrote her, and I'm getting paid all over again. I mean, that
Yeah.
was a easy sell, right? Another example that just happened earlier this week, I got a call from a lady on Monday that her policy is about to lapse. I had not gotten the notice yet, right? But she called me because we have a good rapport, and she says, Jimmy, you know what? We changed bank accounts. Me and my husband, we bank with a different bank, and so the draft didn't go through. We forgot about it, and then we got notified, right? So I gave her the phone number to call, two different carriers, right? To call the carriers. And I also downloaded the bank draft form, change form for both of those carriers and emailed it to her so that she can send it in instead of having to be held over the phone. Well, the very next day, I got the email notification from one of the carriers. And then on Wednesday, I got the second email notification. So then I followed up with her, and she had forgotten. Sometimes this happens. People call you, you talk to them, you tell them how to solve the problem, and then they get busy that day. But in their mind, they're thinking that they took care of it because they got a hold of you. But no, she didn't take care of it, right? So I remind her, you need to take care of it. These policies are about to lapse. So, I mean, I could have just, let it fall by the wayside or said, oh, well, I know I already talked to her, it's taken care of. No, you got to follow up. You got to do your due diligence to keep those policies in force. This happens throughout the year. I mean, I have a lady in Austin that I swear to God, I talk to her every single month, Joe. It's funny, but she's still on the books,
Yeah,
because
I got one too that I wrote probably almost 10 years ago, and I still get about every 90 days I get an email from CFG that her policy's in danger of lapsing, but we keep it on the books. The other thing I just wanted to add too, just real quick on these lapse notices, is that guys, you honestly you can save the majority of them. And calling them is a really good idea, but door knocking them is even better. So if they're local, man, and you get a lapse notice, certainly, yeah, give them a call, try to have a conversation with them, but just put them in your put them in your Road Warrior, or whatever system you're using. And when you're out in the field, man, just swing by and door knock them and have that conversation with them. And if you stay in touch with these clients, you can save. I promise you, you can save the majority of those deals that you get these lapse notices on.
yeah. And I think most of the time when I talk to the people, they want it. Most of
Yeah,
them want it,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
something came up. Maybe they did change bank accounts. I mean, sometimes it could be um, that they had like fraud on their account, right? So then the bank closes that account and reopens a different bank account. So they have a new account number. Some banks will automatically transfer those, those drafts over for payments, and some banks won't. It just depends on the bank, right?
No.
Uh, Sometimes, Joe, it's the Direct Express card. I get a lot of those. The card expires, they get a new expiration date or a new card number, and
Mm-hmm.
all it is just a matter of updating the card, right? So I mean, like if you don't do it, then you're not really concerned about that residual income. Keep those people on the books. Having that residual income is a beautiful thing. I mean, I like to motivate Jack, right? Because he's new, and I show him how much my residual income is on a daily basis. I mean, I get really nice deposits almost every single day. I get all these deposits from
Yeah.
residual, and that happens because I do a good job of keeping those people on the books.
Awesome.
Well, Joe, that's it for me, unless you want to add to that, or maybe
No,
Sean.
I think this is a perfect time to wrap it up, man. I've got some things that I definitely wanted to I want to cover, but we're going to save it for January the 8th and start out the new year, right? I think this is a perfect way to end the year talking about retention, conserving business, and doing the follow up and getting referrals. And let's take everything that we're learning on these calls and let's actually put it into application and apply it going into 2021. So yeah, let's go ahead and end the call, Jimmy. If you want to turn it back over to you, if you want to wrap up our last call for the year, and we'll sign off.
Awesome. Well, I just want to leave you guys with a couple of thoughts. This is a great time to reflect to the end of the year on what policies or procedures or activities that you need to change so that you can start off the new year, with a bang, and also to set, do some goal setting. And then finally, it's not too late. Don't call it quits. I mean, you got a whole nother 6 days that you can write business, right? All the way up to Christmas. I've written policies on Christmas Eve. Just keep going out there. Remember, you want to offer the quote. You want to either get the SID or the presentation now or book the appointment. Either way, go for both. Don't walk away empty-handed. Either do the SID right now or book the appointment for another time. You still have plenty of time to go ahead and get those apps submitted and get paid before Christmas. So with that, you guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless everybody. Be safe. Good travels, Joe.
All right, man. God bless everybody. Take care. Merry Christmas.